Hello guys, in this series of tutorial we have been building the sales order Fury application, and previously what we have done is we have extended our backend functionality in order to display this business partner information. So in this video what we will be doing is we will be extending our UFI application in order to consume that business partner details and display it on the UI. So what I'm going to do here is, here in the detail page I'm going to create an icon tab bar within which I'm going to display some general admin information as well as this business partner information. So we will go back to our UEFI application, and here if you look at the detail view, what we have done is that we have created our object header. So next to this object header I'm going to place an icon tab bar where I'm going to display this general information along with this business partner details. So what I will do is, instead of writing my logic over here, I'm going to uh, generate the layout in a fragment, and then I'm going to add that fragment over here. So to create a fragment, so to organize all this fragment in a different folder, I'm going to create a folder called as fragment, and inside this folder I'm going to create my fragment file where I'm going to name my fragment file as sales order header dot fragment dot xml. This is the name of the fragment which I'm going to create, and I will write the fragment definition. So the fragment definition is coming from core library. So I'm going to tell the system that the core library points to sap.ui.core. Then I'm going to add this default namespace xmlns with that of sap.yum library. So inside this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this icon tab bar element where you can see this icon tab bar. So you can see this icon tab bar which has this properties as well as this aggregation called items. So we will create this icon tab bar. So I have created this icon tab bar, and inside this icon tab bar we will have this items aggregation, and we have this items aggregation, and inside this items aggregation you can see that it supports only of type sap.m.icon tab. So if you check this type, you can see that it only supports either icon tab filter or icon tab separator. So to create each and every item, I'm going to make use of this icon tab filter. So first I'm going to create an tab item where it's going to be of type icon tab filter, and I'm going to set some of the properties as I wanted to specify this icon property. And then if you see here, this icon tab filter is being inherited from this core.item where you have this text and key property which I will be providing here. So what should be the key to identify this tab, and what should be the text that should be displayed over here. So I will select some icons here. So I will make use of this icon. So this is to display this general information. And similarly, I'm going to create one more icon tab filter as a second tab where I'm going to specify this icon to the supplier, and I'll give the text as business partner. So inside this icon tab filter, if you see, this has an aggregation called content which supports any type of control. So inside this content aggregation, I'm going to place the layout that is to be displayed as a part of this fragment. So here I'm going to create a simple form layout. So for the form layout, I am going to um, import that library in a namespace F. where the library is going to be pointed to sap.ui.layout.form. So I'm going to create this form layout for a single form, and inside this content region I'm going to create a couple of fields. So as you know that the form will have this first two fields entered as a first row and the next two fields entered as a second row, as the default maximum container column is 2. So in the first column I'll put a label, and in the second column I'm going to add an input field, where for the input field I'm going to have this value property, and I'm going to have this enabled property to be false. I do not wanted it to be editable. So the form I will be making it to be editable for proper alignment. So first one I'm going to have this created by, and here I'm going to have it as created at. Then thing I want to add here is I'm going to set the width of each and every control uh, property to that of 200 pixels. I'll set this property 100 pixels, where this is going to be changed by, and here I'm going to display the change at. So in a similar way, I'm going to display the supplier information as well. So I will just copy this entirely, and I'm also creating another form within the content region of this icon tab filter. And here, since I will need this form later on, I'm going to give this ID as ID BP. And here I'm going to display the partner information as, so we have already implemented the service for that. So I'm going to display this business partner ID. So business partner ID is something we have already discussed, displayed here. So it's already available here, the business partner ID and name. So we will display further informations like what is his role. So I'm going to specify the role, and then I'm going to display this email address, and I'm going to display his phone number, and I will display his web address. So these are some of the information about this business partner is what I'm going to display. So I have just generated this layout part where we have created a fragment with an icon tab bar, and inside this icon tab bar we have these two icon tab filters. In one icon tab filter I have displayed general information in a form, and in another icon tab filter I have displayed this business partner information in a form. Now what we will do is we will instantiate this fragment and we will add it to the content region of the page in the detail view. So I have added this ID for this page element, where with this ID I'll be able to get this page reference back. The detail controller, what I will do is I'm going to write this logic inside this handle root pattern, root match pattern, and since it will be triggered each and every time when the pattern is being matched, what I will do is I'll make a check that if the fragment is already instantiated or not. If it is not instantiated, only then I'll go and instantiate it. So to do that, I'm going to put the fragment instance in global variable so that I can check whether the fragment is instantiated or not. So I'm going to create a global variable, this dot o fragment so header, and only if this fragment instance is not available I will go inside and I'll create this fragment instance. So before I create the fragment instance I will get the page element, where I'm going to get the page as this dot get view of by ID, whatever is the ID that I have copied. So with this ID, I'm going to get this page instance, and then from here, I'm going to I'm going to instantiate the fragment where I'm going to say this dot o fragment so header is equal to sap.ui.xml fragment, where it is going to take three parameters. The first parameter is going to be the ID of the fragment, and second parameter is going to be the name of the fragment, where the name would be in the sales order component. We have this fragments folder, and inside this fragment folder we have our fragment sales order header, and the third parameter is going to be the controller reference itself. Then I'm going to create a dependency between the fragment and the view. So I will get the reference of the view, and I'm going to add this fragment as a dependent to the view. So that I do by calling this method dependent of this dot o fragment so header. So in this way, what happens is that whatever is the model instance and the binding context that are available in the view, that will be copied over to the fragment as well. So we have created our fragment, and we have instantiated our fragment, and we have added it as a dependent to the view. Then what I will do is I will also set this fragment with that of this binding context fragment so header dot set binding context of o context. So I have set this binding context with that of the O context. Then what we will do is we will activate this. So I haven't actually added the fragment to the page yet. So I will add it here as O page dot add content. So in the content region, it is going to add this dot O fragment so header. So it is going to add this fragment in the page. So now we will activate this. So when I select a particular row, you could see that the fragment has been instantiated and it has been displayed in the detail view, where it displays this general data and the business partner information. So it does not display anything as of now, as we have not created our binding. So we already know that this row of information is available, where we have this created by, created at, changed by, and changed at information. So I'll perform a binding for that, where I'm going to go to the fragment, and here, since this context is already available to us, where that would be available this sales order, where I'm going to put this created by, created this, and created at, and I'm going to add this changed by and change that. Then I'm going to activate this, and also I will put a breakpoint here in the detail view, where I'm going to get this fragment instance. So whenever I select this, here one thing you need to check is, if you check this model, and in the model data, here you could see this, all the information are available, like changed at, changed by business partner, whatever it is, and so on. But if you check out this BP, you can see this, the value is differed, which means the BP is created as another entity which is associated with that of our sales order set, which means when we read our sales order set, only the sales order set information will be available to us, and all the association will not be read automatically. So unless we have a binding created to that, the framework, it will not try to read that information, which is why you see this BP with only this deferred value. So I won't be able to bind this BP value as of now unless I create a binding for this. So if you see here, I can see this general data information, but for BP, even if I'm going to map it to this path BP, inside this BP path, there is nothing available, because of which the binding will not get any information. So that's the reason why I haven't created binding yet. So what I will do is I'm going to create a binding path where I'm going to create an element binding saying that this particular control should get the data from this particular business partner. So when I do that, it is going to create an element binding, and it will also tell the model that okay, I need the data from this business partner entity which is created as an association. So it will take this, it will resolve this association by default when I do this element binding, and it is going to read that information. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I have created this form with an ID BP. So this is for the purpose of reading this form control back wherever I wanted it. So I need this form control here so that I can perform an element binding that this form should display the data from this business partner entity. So to get this binding element, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this business partner where I'm going to say form BP is equal to, since it is a fragment, I will not be able to read the ID like what I have done over here. I will not be able to read the view and get the ID from this like what I have done here. So what I need to do is, if it is a fragment, we read the ID as sap.ui.core.fragment is a class in which we have this method by id with which we will get the instance back. So it takes a couple of parameter. One parameter is that the id of the fragment, and that is going to be the first parameter. And the second parameter is that inside that particular fragment which we have navigated, what is the control that we wanted. So I wanted this second id. So in this way I get this form instance back. Then what I will do is I'm going to tell the system that this form control, this form BP should get the value from. So I'm going to say that bind element. So in this way, I'm telling the system that it should get the data from this business partner. So I'm going to specify the path here. So the path here would be in whichever the sales order that we are processing, in that sales order I wanted to navigate to this business partner, and this is the path where I wanted this to get the value from. So now that I have specified this form BP will have only data that are part of this business partner. So we will go inside this, and here we will create a binding in such a way that, so now this will be looking inside this BP, and inside this whatever the data that is available here, we will process that data. So what are the thing that we are displaying is, we are displaying this BP role. So I'll specify this BP role here, and then the email which is coming from this email address, and then we have our phone number which is getting displayed from here, and then we have this web address which is going to be displayed from here. Then I will activate my application. I'll just submit all the changes. So now when I select a row over here, you could see that this is going to be the path from where this form BP is going to get the value from. And now in the network section, if you check the values, if you check the service call that has been made, you can see that this batch operation has been executed for the service call, where you can see that the system has only retrieved information for this sales order set count value as well as the sales order set actual value between the range 0 to 100. So that is what it is being displayed over here. Now it has not actually read this business partner information yet. So I will clear this, and then I will perform this element binding with this particular path. Now that I have performed the element binding to that particular path, you can see that the system has triggered this service call now, And from this service call, we are returning our business partner information. So if you go to the network section, you'll be able to see another batch operation which has been executed, where you can see that the sales order set for this business partner has been executed. So it has retrieved that information. So now if I go to this business partner, I should be able to see my data available over here. So here we have created an association where the association is of cardinality 1:1, where for one sales order we have this one business partner information that we have displayed over here. Now we will also extend this application further, where I'm going to display the sales order item details, where I'm going to read the item information with the help of association, but this time the cardinality is going to be 0:n. So for one sales order there can be any number of items, and that item information I'm going to display it as a table over here. So that we will continue in the next session. So thanks for watching. Have a nice day.